Hello, my name is Rick Blake. I'm a city councilor here in Grand Rapids, and I'm here with Tom Pagel.
Hi, I'm Tom Pagel. I'm the city administrator for the city of Grand Rapids.
The reason we're talking to you today is because we want to explain what local government aid means to Grand Rapids. So we're going to introduce a short video that was produced by the League of Minnesota Cities and some other collaborators that explains the history of local government aid and what it means to cities in greater Minnesota.
Local government aid, also called LGA, is a state general purpose aid and property tax relief tool for Minnesota cities. LGA helps cities pay for needs and services essential for a strong city, such as public safety, city streets, parks and recreation, libraries, housing, and more. LGA helps ensure all Minnesotans across the state have the opportunity to live in a vibrant community. In Minnesota, local governments have historically relied heavily on local property taxes to pay for their city needs and services. Some cities were also able to raise revenues locally through local sales and income taxes. However, concern grew regarding the disparity among the haves and have-nots. As a result, the Minnesota Miracle was instituted by the Minnesota State Legislature in the 1970s. This landmark legislation, among many other important things, restricted cities from levying local sales taxes and income taxes, and instead, started supplying substantial amounts of state money for cities to meet their increasing demand for services. The goal was to keep property taxes down by spreading money the state collects from income and sales taxes. The vision was that no matter where you happen to live in Minnesota, the quality of services should remain the same. This more than 50-year-old arrangement continues to be essential for cities, particularly for greater Minnesota. While about 90% of cities in Minnesota receive LGA, it is especially important in greater Minnesota, where there is less property tax wealth. For example, a 1% increase in the city property tax levy would raise $7,900 in Mountain Lake, whereas it would generate $403,000 in Minnetonka. LGA helps even out these disparities. Exactly how much a city receives in LGA depends on a complicated set of formulas. There are 3 different need formulas, one for cities under 2,500, one for cities between 2,500 and 10,000, and one for cities over 10,000 in population. The LGA formula uses need factors that are proxies for such things as the age of a city's infrastructure, its level of service need, and how many residents and visitors it services day to day. The formula then compares the calculated city need to a city's ability to pay, to then determine the overall unmet need for a city. If a city's revenue-raising abilities are greater than its calculated need, it will not receive LGA that year. If a city's unmet need is less than its prior year LGA, the city will begin to receive less LGA than the previous year. If a city's unmet need exceeds its prior year LGA, the city will receive more LGA than the previous year through an aid adjustment. As more cities continue to have rising unmet needs, the aid adjustment will continue to get smaller if the LGA allocation remains the same, reducing the aid increases available to cities with unmet need. The LGA program is funded by a fixed pool of money, so if the state does not appropriate additional funds on a yearly basis, the change in a city's LGA is minimal. Cities receive the aid in 2 equal payments. The first in mid-July and the second in late December. While LGA is only a tiny portion of the state's overall spending, it can be up to 2/3 of a city's budget. If LGA is cut, cities would either need to raise levies, or cut services, or both. In the past, when there have been state budget deficits, the program has experienced cuts, which has been devastating to communities. One of the most important things the legislature and governor can do to help Minnesotans in every corner of the state is to continue to invest in local government aid. Local government aid is the key to strong communities and a stronger Minnesota.
Councilmember Blake, you are a representative to the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, a group that really looks out for and supports communities like the city of Grand Rapids. Can you tell us about your involvement this past legislative session on local government aid?
Sure. The coalition has been working on revising the formula used to calculate local government aid, I think, since 2021. Since 2009, LGA funding has increased by 18%. However, inflation has increased by 38%, and the state general fund revenue, which is used to fund local government aid, has increased by 74%. So clearly the formula was outdated, needed to be revised. So as the video said, local government aid is designed to level the playing field for Minnesota City's ability to provide services to its citizens. It strengthens the fiscal position of cities and eases the burden of property taxes that are paid by citizens and local business firms. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how it affects our city budget.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I look at local government aid, it's probably one of the most effective tools our legislature, state legislature, can use in reducing property taxes. When you look at the city of Grand Rapids, I looked back 10 years on its effect, and it reduced, in 2012, it reduced property taxes on a residential property by $137 per $100,000 of home value. Mm-hmm. Today, in 2022, it's $186 per $100,000 of home value. And I think with the recent notification from the county auditor's office or assessor's office on home values, you know, a lot of us are approaching $200,000 in home value. So you multiply that by 2, and our residents see a reduction in their property tax of about $350 to $400 because of local government aid. So a very, very effective tool. And oftentimes I scratch my head wondering why it's so difficult for our legislators to see that and to increase the local government aid to communities.
Yeah, like the video said, in 1971, Minnesota was very progressive in their treatment of revenue in Minnesota, and it leveled the playing field for Minnesota cities. So right now, the legislature has in the House, there is a tax bill, in the tax bill, the revised formula that was worked out, like I said before, with the coalition, the League of Minnesota Cities, and some other collaborators. That revised formula, updated, also contains a $34 million increase in LGA. That would result in a 7.2% increase in our award. The coalition is also lobbying the legislature to replace the $34 million by a $90 million increase. That would reduce that would increase our local government aid by 26%. And as you said, those recent notifications of property value has got everyone excited, and this would certainly be a way of using the current surplus to get back to local citizens. So, and it would help Grand Rapids so much. I'd encourage people to let Senator Eichhorn know, and Spencer Igo as well, because this bill will probably be decided in a conference committee between the House and Senate. If you did want to contact Representative Igo, his phone number is 651-296-4936. Again, that's 651-296-4936. Senator Eichhorn's contact phone number is 651-296-7079. That's 651-296-7079.
Councilmember Blake, one more thing related to property taxes. Recently, this year's property tax statements went out to all property owners throughout the county. I would encourage folks to look on the backside of those statements, because there are programs available to property owners to get rebates back on their property taxes. And I know throughout the county there have been dramatic increases in residential property taxes. So just a reminder.
Yeah, certainly worth checking, because a significant number of people who are eligible don't apply. Correct. So we want to encourage people to do that. Yeah. Well, thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Blake. Always exciting times down at the legislature. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope some good property tax relief comes.